America's Promise today is celebrating 20 years since their first summit in 1997. And in a way, I'm celebrating too. And so I thought I'd share a little story with you of what my life was like in 1997. It's Thanksgiving weekend. My dad's birthday is November 28th, which was on a Saturday that year. And the next day was a Sunday, a seemingly ordinary Sunday. And I thought I'd be going back to school after a long weekend home. I was in 4th grade at the time. My mom had to travel for a business trip, so my siblings and I were gonna go see her off at the airport. And we did that. But on the way home, my dad lost control of the car. And the next thing I knew, I was in a helicopter on my way to the hospital. Safe to say I didn't make it back to school the next day. I ended up spending 3 weeks in that hospital, broke a couple bones in my legs, so I was in a wheelchair for a few months. And I suffered a severe nerve injury on my right arm, which is still with me to this day. It's called brachial plexus palsy. But I think the most jarring part of this entire experience was that not everyone made it out of that car accident alive. I lost my dad. And so when I think about that weekend, to me, it was supposed to be about gratitude and abundance and family and love and celebration of life into this world. And instead, it was about loss. I was reading Powell's letter to the nation yesterday, and something seemed really relevant here. In too many places, children are caught in a sticky web of troubles that would be difficult for any of us to escape. Some children heroically transcend these problems through hard work, character, and idealism. But it should not require heroism to be a child. That could not be more true. And I know someone earlier talked about adverse experiences, toxic stress, and the childhood trauma that I went through, I would never wish onto anyone else. So after 4 months, the bones in my leg had healed and I was walking again. And I had relearned how to write with my left hand. I used to be right-handed. And I went back to school. And I was thrust into this environment where I was still dealing with the loss of my father and trying to deal with my new identity as a person with a disability. One of my least favorite memories growing up was this mandatory physical education class. No one wanted me to be on their team. I was always the last kid picked. And it doesn't matter if you have a disability or not, but things like that, not being picked for a team, can have lasting impacts on how we feel like we can contribute to society. And so I just hid. I wore long sleeves all the time, and if you asked me about my arm, I'd actually just start crying. I didn't give you the opportunity to get to know me and to get to know my story. So that was my situation growing up. My mom, who now newly single parent, had to raise 4 kids on her own. When I really needed someone at home, I didn't get the support that I needed. She worked so hard. And at school, I'd get dressed for a class every single day that no one wanted me to be at. I felt so isolated at home, and at school, I felt so excluded. So when did the change happen? When did I break free from feeling so victimized and ashamed by my story and what had happened to me? From being able to also stand here before you today. And I think it happened in October 2009, a little over 10 years after the accident. I started to notice that people were pretty uncomfortable with disability. And as a result, they were uncomfortable with me. And all I really wanted was to be liked, to be accepted, to be understood. And as I thought about it a little bit more, I realized that the fear was really around the language we use when we talk about disability. We're so afraid of saying something offensive that we end up saying nothing at all. So something that was so core to my identity that I thought about every single day, no one was talking about and no one was acknowledging. Think about what that means as a kid with a disability, to be overlooked, forgotten, to be separated. We talk so much today about the issues facing youth, but when you add disability to that, it adds another layer of complexity that makes it so difficult to be different. One of the videos that we saw earlier today talked about don't call us dropouts. And someone in the video said, if we don't change the conversation, we'll never get anything done. And I think that's so true. And so my life experiences made me really passionate about inclusion and empowerment. I never wanted anyone who met me or touched my work to feel like they were alone. and I never wanted anyone to feel like they didn't matter. And so when I think about what the real issue is in the disability space, I think it's rooted in assumptions that people, kids with disabilities can't achieve and can't dream, and because of that, we're not even given the chance to succeed. And it starts at an early age. It starts at how our parents or adults treat us. It starts with how parents or adults are educating their children and bringing that into the classroom. And if not addressed properly, it can have really detrimental impacts. It can mean me feeling like a burden for the past 20 years, which is one of the most dangerous things that anyone can ever feel. And it can mean feeling like I have to ask for permission just to show up. So I have committed my life to building communities everywhere that I go and bringing others along with me while I'm doing it. I think there's something so powerful, about community, because as a function of being a part of a community, you start to feel empowered, which is one of the themes of today that I think is so important with our youth. Empowerment can come in a lot of different ways. It can come from being gainfully employed. It can come from having a roof over your head or feeling like you're financially stable. And it can also come from feeling like you have people who are rooting for you and who support you and challenge you and lift you up. And so when I think about that, I feel like I didn't really have community when I was growing up, but I feel like I have that now. And so I kind of wanted to take a step back and close this talk by saying that fundamentally, all of us as humans just want to be seen, and we want to be heard, and we want to be valued. And so I want to pick each and every one of you this time to be on my team to commit to empowering our youth to recommit to themselves. So the last thing I wanted to say, I know I kind of tricked you there, I saw these buttons yesterday at the founder's reception, and they say, "I was there." And some of you are wearing them today. And these buttons, to me, represent three really powerful words. I was there. I exist. And so I want to close this talk by saying in 1997, I wasn't at the summit, but I was there. And today, I'm still here. Thank you.